Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, April 29th. We are going to be in that same state test prep section as every lesson this week. And today we are moving to the page 7, which should say Algebra 2. On Tuesday, we began reviewing our algebra skills, and we learned one calculator trick that was helping us to solve some multiple choice questions about equivalent expressions using those algebra skills. Today, we're going to be doing the same thing. We are reviewing our algebra skills to solve some state test level questions. And there are very similar calculator tricks that we can go ahead and use. Before we do that, I want you guys to pause your video here, try that review and preview question for the DIN, and then come back. Alrighty. If you pause your video and you tried our first question, you should have been able to use either method that we learned, right? First method is that you're using your algebra skills exactly as we learned them the first time. If I look at this expression, I see a couple terms that have the same variable. So I know that I can combine those. 7a plus a negative 12a should give me a negative 5a. And then I'm combining my negative 8 and a positive 4. That should leave me with a negative 4. And we see our answer choice right here. Okay, this question was pretty simple to solve using our algebra skills. All we had to do was combine like terms. If it was not that simple, we could have taken a guess, chosen a fake value for a, even though we don't know what it is. But we could have evaluated the expression using that value. Maybe a is 5. Figured out what this whole thing was equal to if a is 5, and then figured out what all of these are equal to if a is 5 to find the one that matches. I won't do that now. We're going to practice that with a couple of different questions. So that was just a little bit of a review from last lesson. Now let's go ahead and look at our preview. So he bought 35 feet of window trim at a hardware store. The trim cost $1.75 per foot, including the sales tax. So we don't have to worry about adding tax. If he paid with a $100 bill, how much change should he have received? Right, so these are a little bit different from last lesson. Now they are kind of giving us more of a word problem, more of a situation to set up with our equation first. And then if you look at our answer choices, they actually want us to solve that equation. Okay, they don't want equivalent expressions anymore. So we're going to go ahead and see what we can do here. If he brought 35 feet, I'm going to go ahead and circle that number, of window trim at a hardware store, and each foot, right? We know the word per means that we are multiplying by each foot. And then our total cost was $100. Those are our three key parts here. So let's set this up. We're starting with 35 feet. And they're telling me each of those feet, the word each or the word per, means I'm multiplying by something, costs $1.75. And then our total he paid with a $100 bill is going to be kind of our equal to situation here. That's the total that he's paying with. But there's some amount missing. I left a space here because he's supposed to get change back. So he kind of paid extra. He paid some amount extra. I'm going to use that as X. This is one way that I could have set this up. If you use your total as kind of the equal to final answer, then you would have your X on this side. I would have to solve this equation using our algebra skills to get rid of these couple of extra numbers. And it's not going to be that bad. We are going to do it this way. Or we could have set it up one other way that I will show you as well. Give myself, oops, that's not what I want to do. Oh goodness, I'm messing up my whole page here. I was going to try and give myself some extra space, but that's okay. We'll solve it this way first, and then I'll show you that other way. We can go ahead and multiply these two numbers. Okay, they're not attached to that X. Let's figure out how to simplify that part. We have 35 times 1.75. Oops, my decimal never clicks here. There we go, 61.25. So his cost was actually supposed to be 61.25, but he paid some amount extra because he gave them a full $100 bill. And so now they need to give him that change back. And we can go ahead and just subtract my 61.25 from 100 and figure out what that would be. $38.75, answer choice B. The other way that I wanted to show you how this would be set up is to kind of read the situation backwards. If you know that he's paying with a $100 bill, that's kind of how much he has in his wallet, right? We can have started with 100. Then he's buying something, so he is taking away his money, and he's taking away 35 feet worth of window trim. So again, we still have that 35, we still have that multiplying by 175, but we're kind of taking it in a different direction. We could start with how much he has in his wallet, then what he is spending, and this answer would have given us the 38.75 right away without having to even use an extra variable X. So there were two ways there, some little tricks and hints that we're going to be practicing today. Let's go ahead and move down to our first exercise. This one's really super interesting because it gives us a big diagram. They say that Katrina is decorating her room with 3 posters of her favorite bands. So pretend this is your room. What bands would you have up there? 3 posters that we can see look to be about the same size. Then they tell us that they are the same size. Each poster, that means every poster, measures 18 inches in width. So looking at poster 1, they labeled that 18 inches. We should also know that word each means every single one is the same. So we could go ahead and label this as 18 inches and this as 18 inches. And then they tell us poster 2 is horizontally centered on her wall. That means that it is directly in the middle. Okay, if I were to cut this wall in half, poster 2 is directly in the middle. That's actually giving us another hint. Now we know that even though we don't have an actual measurement for this piece, it should be equal to this piece. Okay, these posters are exactly in the middle of her wall. They're horizontally centered. Centered tells us the middle. And now we have our question. What is the distance in inches between the left edge of the wall and poster 1? We're trying to figure out what this question mark will equal. And we can go ahead and do that. Because we have a total down here, okay? Look at everything. I almost missed this total that they were giving us, okay? Visual not drawn to scale doesn't matter a whole lot. That just means that on your paper, this actually isn't 18 inches, right? But you have to look very closely. They're giving us this total. The whole thing is supposed to be 7.5 feet, which is going to be equal to this length after we figure out what those question marks are. And we see that we should have 3 18s. I'm going to go ahead and write 18 plus 18 plus 18. Or you could write 3 times 18 if you want to make it a little bit shorter there. We should have 2 1.5s. I'm going to go ahead and write plus 1.5 plus 1.5. And we should have 2 question marks. I'm actually going to change those question marks to X's so that we have an actual variable there. So I'm going to say plus X. Right now there are 2. We only need to find 1. But in order to match this equal to our total, we have to include every single part. Let's go ahead and simplify. 3 times 18. I can add them all together 3 times, or I can just use my multiplication button like this. Here we go, and get 54. So 3 times 18, that's just this piece, should give me 54. Okay. And then we have 1.5 plus 1.5. Again, I can add those together. I actually know what that is already. That should be plus 3 when you put those together. And we have plus 2 x's. Okay. I'm going to simplify one more time. 54 plus 3 should be 57. Plus 2x here. This is where my line would be. My 7.5 is on this side, equals that 57 plus 2x. Okay. Here's where I think I just caught myself making a small mistake. Okay, in my head, I kind of went ahead a little bit and I tried to figure out this answer. If we did do this whole thing, let's see what it would be. I would have to subtract my 57, and then I would have to divide by the 2 to get its x by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and try that now. Ready? If I kept it as a 7.5, I'd have to subtract that 57. And then I would have to take that answer, 49.5, and I would have to divide by 2. Negative 2475. That doesn't seem correct. How would a space on the wall be a negative value? They don't even give me that choice in my answers. So I'm thinking I made a small mistake somewhere. And this is okay. This is another kind of tip that I wanted to give you guys. If you're starting something, okay, we started with this equation, we started to solve it, we got an answer, it doesn't look right. The tip is to go back, read through everything again, see if you can find that very small mistake. Okay, and I'm reading everything and I notice these are written in inches. Okay, 18 inches, 1.5 inches. Those are both 18 inches as well because they're supposed to match that one. My question marks would probably be in inches as well. But my total down here, that's not written in inches. That says 7.5 feet. I actually need to change that to inches, erase these parts that I started with, and find that new amount. Here's how I change feet to inches. You want to take your amount of feet and you need to multiply by 12. Okay, feet to inches should be multiplied by 12 because there are 12 inches in 1 foot. And so if we have 7.5 feet, we're going to have 7.5 groups of that 12, which actually equals 90. So I found my small mistake. I went back. My total should actually equal 90. And now I can do those same steps and it should work out. I'm going to subtract 57 because I want to make it reduce to 0. I want to get rid of it. That should leave me with a 33 equals 2x. Okay, so that's worth 2 question marks. I only want to find 1 question mark, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by that 2. And my answer choice that is equal to 33 divided by 2 should be 16.5. Let's go ahead and double check that. 33 divided by 2 is 16.5. Answer choice A. Okay, so we're learning some more tips and tricks here for multiple choice questions. There are a couple of different methods for word problems. There are tricks for when you make a mistake and you need to go back, read everything very, very carefully. Okay, if you don't get an answer that's in this choice, that means something went wrong. Let's see if we can find any last tricks for our next couple of exercises here. Clara goes miniature golfing. She pays $7.50 for an admission ticket and $6.25 for each round that she golfs. The total amount that Clara pays for admission and the number of rounds she golfs is $26.25. Which equation can be used to determine the number of rounds? So this is more similar to a question that we looked at yesterday. This time they're not asking you to solve for that x, they just want you to set it up. And we can go ahead and circle our key numbers, circle our key words, and try to put that all together into some type of equation. Those are my 3 numbers. I know I'm going to have an x in there somewhere. They're giving me a variable. And some of my keywords I need are for each. The word and is telling me something. And then the word total is telling me something. Okay. We're starting with $7.50. That's how much she's paying first. And then she's paying more. That's telling me to add $6.25 for each round she golfs. Remember that I said the word for each means that we're multiplying by some amount, okay? If she only golfed one round, we would only need one of that amount of money. But if she golfed for 2 rounds, we'd have to multiply by 2, okay, to get the total amount of money. If she golfed 3 rounds, we multiply 3, 4 rounds by 4. We don't know how many rounds. So that's where our variable is coming in. We're multiplying by just that x. And then our very last piece is that the word total tells us we're getting to the end. We equal some amount, and that amount is 26.25. And we can now figure out which one this matches to. The x should be on the 6.25, so automatically I can cross off C and D. I'm adding in between here, so I can cross off B. A should be the correct choice. All right. One last question. This is going to mix in a little bit of our inequalities. So I'm hoping it's not too challenging, but let's go ahead and practice. Yolanda participated in a walkathon in which each kilometer walked raises $10 for charity. Automatically, I'm seeing that word each, and I'm seeing $10. Her goal was to raise more than $300. Those are some more key pieces. She raised $50 on Saturday. And so which graph shows all the distances in kilometers that she could have walked on Sunday in order to reach her goal? That was a lot of information. So let's take that piece by piece. Each kilometer she walks raises $10. So I already know that I'm going to have 10 times some amount of kilometers, 10 times x. We'll use our variable there. Okay. She wants to raise more than 300. So whatever the actual amount is that she does make needs to be greater than or equal to 300. Okay, we want our alligator symbol to be pointing to this side because we want this to be more. And she already has $50. Saturday, she raised $50. Now on Sunday, she needs to walk this amount to make her total be bigger than 300. And if you look at our choices here, they're giving you a graph. They graphed these numbers on a number line, which means we actually need to solve for our value of x and use that to see which number line is matching. So let's go ahead and do that. You guys did awesome at this on your Unit 6 tests. And we are going to use our algebra skills. 50 minus 50 reduces to 0. Take that right off. My 10x is left. My symbol is still the same because I haven't multiplied or divided by a negative, so it doesn't need to flip. My new total on this side is 250. And now the last piece I need is to divide by 10. 10 divided by 10 reduces to 1, meaning I have 1x left. I still see my symbol as the same because I did not divide by a negative. And my new answer should be a 25. Automatically, that should tell me that A, C, and D are not correct. Anytime we solve an inequality, that final value for x is where our circle needs to be drawn. Okay, and so automatically we see none of those are drawn at 25. We don't even need to check them. Okay, if there was another one at 25, then we would still need to check both because what if they colored it in the wrong side? Okay, On this piece, it is colored correctly because we want x to be greater. They colored the greater numbers, which is our correct choice. But if we had another choice that had 25 coloring the smaller numbers, we would have to check that too, just to make sure it was the incorrect choice. Alrighty, guys. We have a few more practice questions today. Practice 3, where Bob is at a grocery store picking up a couple of things, and we need to write an equation to represent that. And we actually have to solve that equation for x. We need an x equals equation as our final answer. We have Keisha, who is building a fence, and we have a diagram here trying to figure out that x value, just like our question marks from Katrina's bedroom. Okay? Missing a value that we need to find. And then we have a few more situations here. Josh is going to a movie theater. He's earning some points. We can see that this is actually as an inequality. What would we have to set the inequality as? And then question 20. This one will actually be an inequality as well, because we see the word greatest, which means that there could be multiple answers, but we're trying to find the biggest answer, so that will be using an alligator symbol. And same thing with the exit ticket. We see the word minimum, which means there could be multiple answers, but we need the smallest answer to solve that problem. Self-reflection, you guys know how to write those. And then we are choosing at least one quiz from the EE Standard Quiz 2 list on Canvas. That's it for today.